This podcast contains strong language and adult themes from the outset.
Finding the funny. Finding the funny. With Ruth and Ange. Finding the funny.
This week, we are chatting with one of the UK's most loved household names. She is an actress, a comedian, a writer, and a producer. Her career has spanned decades, starting at the National Theatre and then going on to star in the 90s British film East is East. We loved watching her in ITV's Fat Friends, and it is during this time that she met our brother James. Their friendship bloomed and led them to write the magnificent Gavin and Stacey. She has also starred in Nighty Night, written by the fabulous Julia Davies. She wrote, produced and starred in Sky One's Stella and is now a Sunday Times best-selling author. Her books include Never Greener, Us Three, and her latest book available to pre-order now, Love Untold. She is, in our opinion, bloody fantastic. Please welcome the wonderful Ruth Jones.
Hey!
Hello, hello, hello. How lovely to be with you.
I think we do just need to say what's gone on, don't we, guys?
Yes, I think we should. I think we should be honest with our listeners.
Do you know, one of my highlights now for my life is going to be Ruth Jones going, this fucking internet, this shit.
and then being told by producer Joe to go and sit on the router.
Yes. Which I have to say, at my age, is quite a disturbing thought.
I'd say that's probably quite a joy.
Oh dear, so early. We're only 1 minute in and already there's filth.
Filth. Absolute filth.
But that was just, I mean, my favourite bit was when you were told to go and get your headphones and you were like, they're upstairs. Okay. You're like, this is me walking back down the stairs.
Honestly, technology is an absolute shitter when it doesn't work, isn't it? It's just,
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
We have such high standards, don't we?
Anyway, we're here. Let us crack on.
What was lovely was that I was saying to you that the last time I saw you both was on Christmas Day 2019. We were all gathered together on Famille and we watched the Christmas special of Gavin and Stacey. And it was great because there was only me and James obviously knew what was going to happen, and David and Julia, but nobody else in the room did. So there was all you guys. And it was such a delight to watch your response at the end. I mean, especially Ruth, you were really angry. You were like going,
you lost it.
No!
Yeah.
No!
I was so annoyed.
Yeah, Patty lost it big time.
Yeah. And we had loads of people that asked us, I'm sure you get this all the time in every interview, Ruth, but I think when Ange and I asked for questions for you, there was two for me that came up a lot. The first one was, is there any plans for any more Gavin and Stacey? But somebody then just asked me, for fuck's sake, just ask her if Smithy said yes.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Do you know what I love, though, is that it is a big compliment that people care enough to ask if there's going to be any more. But I just find it really funny that people say, is there going to be any more? Like as if we go, oh yeah, didn't we tell you? Yeah, there is, yeah. Or no, there isn't. And it almost doesn't matter what we say. No. It almost doesn't matter what we say because people will still ask the question. And that's lovely. It's a real compliment. It really is. But I can answer you now and tell you that there's absolutely no plans. I can't remember when I spoke to James last. I mean, we've texted and stuff, but it's impossible to get together and write, especially after all the shit that's been going on the last, 18 months. So, and when we wrote that Christmas special, it took such huge logistics to get, not just to get us together, but getting the cast together, keeping it a secret. I don't think my heart could stand the stress of going through that again.
Do you have any idea now, like when you wrote that one and decided on how you're going to end it, do you, if you ever do get that opportunity to be able to write another special at some point, do you already have an idea of how you are going to kind of go from the point it ended? Do you have an idea of how the next one will be? Or is it literally, we don't have a clue and we'll just get there if we ever get there?
No, I'd have to say, I think James would agree with this. Me and James's writing is a bit sort of hit and miss. I mean, we're not very good at planning. We used to do like post-it notes when we were writing like the series. We used to do post-it notes. They were so crap. They'd literally have things like garage, golfing scene, but we wouldn't have anything sort of. I mean, I kept some of them because they were so. James always used to do the write on the post-it notes because his handwriting was so beautiful, although quite annoying. He always writes in capitals. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That he doesn't write. Yeah. He writes
his
like a big capital.
Awful.
Oh, I think he's nice, but it's just his weird. It takes forever, and I want to go. Oh, just scribble it down. But he just does this really neat. Takes ages to write it.
You know why that is, though, don't you? Because he can't spell. It's because he can't spell, Reece, so he has to think about. What he's writing.
He has to slow it right down.
Yeah, he's got to slow it right down and think how he's got to sound it out in his head. He's got to think, how do I spell this? Holding the pen is hard enough often.
I thought it was just he couldn't. He was away from school when they learnt about how to do little letters, and so he can only write in capitals. But I think. But the thing is,
he does just write in capitals.
He does, doesn't he? But I think we just aren't very, very good at planning. Things like, for example, I don't know, you might have heard this story, but do you remember that episode where Dawn and Pete renewed their vows?
Love that episode.
Yeah.
Love that.
So that was a complete accident because me and James had a massive row that day. And I think he actually said, "Oh, I'm going to Spain," or something. He had a bit of a tangent. I'll tell you what happened, right? Because I'm sure you'll understand this. Because as you know, mine and James's relationship is very sort of brotherly, sisterly.
Yeah.
And what had happened was somebody had sent me a script, right, to read. They said, "Oh, would you have a look at this script I've written?" And it was another James. It was James somebody else. And I replied and said, "Oh, that's great. I'll give it a read later on." But I sent it to James Corden by accident, right? So he came back and he went, "What are you talking about?"
Oh no!
And I went, "Oh, it's just a script that somebody asked me to read." And he went, "What script?" And I went, and I don't know why, because to be honest, I am not a wind-up merchant. And I'm really not like him. I'm not like him at all in that regard. But for some reason, and bear in mind, I was now driving up to London to write with him. Okay, we'd had it all planned. We were meeting in this hotel. So I was in the car, and I went, for some reason, I went, "I'm afraid I can't tell you about it." He went, "What?" And I said, I've signed.
Oh my God!
I've signed a confidentiality agreement. He was like, "Oh, fucking hell. Is it Doctor Who?" I went, "I'm really sorry, James. I just can't tell you." And he just I was laughing, but he got really stroppy with me. And he went, "Oh, I can't write today. I'm not writing today." And I think he said something like, "I'm going to Spain," or I'm going to go somewhere else. I thought, that's so ridiculous because I don't think James is a sulker at all, right? He doesn't sulk. No. He gets too bored to sulk, right? But I said, "Don't you dare." I said, "I'm coming up to bloody London now. We're supposed to be writing. I'm nearly there. I'm like up by Reading or whatever." So anyway, we met at this hotel and he was really grumpy with me. And so we ended up sort of like, having a bit of a row. And then we didn't feel like writing, obviously, because we were both grumpy by this point. So we decided to go out to the shop nearby. We bought 3 massive Easter eggs, right? Took them into the hotel room where I was staying. We ate all of the Easter eggs, right? I remember James at one point, he had, the shell of the egg. He had it literally over his face and he was inhaling it. It was like the chocolate equivalent of a heroin binge. And then because we had this massive sugar high and then a sugar low, we fell asleep. Right? We fell asleep for like about 2 hours or something. And when we woke up, it was about 9 o'clock in the evening. We hadn't written a word.
No.
And God knows where it came from, but we just got inspired to write this entire sequence for Dawn and Pete. And the lyrics to Michael Jackson's Ben came to us, and we were crying, laughing. Now, that probably wouldn't have happened had we not had a row and a chocolate binge. But, so we don't really plan. We don't really plan, to be honest.
Oh, and that I can totally just see James in that, like, because I think James can get moody. I don't think he can sustain it, but I think he can. No. He can sort of get a bit moody with you, and he does get bored then, I think, and can't contain being a sulker, and ends up saying.
I said to him, I said, when you were a child, I bet you completely entertained yourself all the time. He said, oh, yeah. I said to him, you could find something interesting in a doormat. I mean, he could literally, he can play with anything, can't he? So he just doesn't get, he's too interested in life to get to sulk, I think. Do you know, I'm a bit upset that you haven't gone, La big question.
La big question. Yes, Ruthio.
We had quite a good question in for you though, Ruth, which I actually think this is quite an interesting question. I'd be really interested to hear what you think. How do you think the Shipmans and the Wests would have coped with the pandemic?
Oh, they'd have, well, I think the Shipmans, I think Pam would have been, she would have sort of loved lockdown. She would have loved the rules. Yeah. She'd be the sort of person that would wear a mask, even if she was on her own, outside, in the middle of a football field, she would still have worn a mask. And I think she would have loved the sort of, the whole drama of it, and probably would have probably drunk quite a lot. I think would have found excuses for Dawn to come round. Yes, exactly. Would have found an excuse for Dawn to come round. I think, and just say, well, just say you're a frontline worker. You know, she'd have just come up with some sort of excuse. And I think Mick would have been a real community member. He'd have gone around checking on the neighbours, you know, all that kind of thing. Yeah. And I also think Pam would have probably thought she had it all the time, you know. She probably always thought she had it. Yeah.
There'd have been a lot of oh my Christ, wouldn't there?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
She'd have been all over the old flow test, wouldn't she?
Oh yes,
she'd have been shoving that thing up her nose,
Mick,
her throat all the
let
time.
me put this up your nose. Yeah.
Or Mick, I can go and get you the one where we do it round Uranus.
Oh. You see, you have to lower the level. You have to lower the level.
Anal. I'm all about anal swabbing.
Oh, are you?
No, definitely not, no.
What about the West? I mean, Uncle Bryn.
He would have been incredibly cautious. He would have been washing the shopping, which is actually something I did in early lockdown.
Yes,
I used to wash the shopping.
Yeah. Same.
I'm terrible now.
Now I don't
really
give a shit.
Lazy. No, I don't even. I don't even use the hand sanitizer.
No. It's
terrible, isn't it?
I'm totally COVID relaxed.
But what about Gavin and Stacey? What would they have been like?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
I think they'd have been quite different, don't you?
Yeah, I think Stacey would have got quite hysterical, definitely, and Gavin would have calmed her down, and you know, and that's always the way. And I think probably Stacey's got it in her to be quite aggressive when she needs to be. You know, the Barry girl in her comes out, I think. Yeah. So
I think basically Gavin and Stacey would just be a younger version of Pam and Mick.
Yes,
that
I agree.
Same kind of role. You know, Stacey would be losing her shit like Pam. Mick and Gav very relaxed.
Or you know what might happen? It could be the complete opposite. Stacey could be like, I'm not being funny, Gav, but the thing is, we've always got diseases down the island, and you know we're all immune at the end of the day. And I think Nessa probably would have volunteered to vaccinate people.
Definitely. Yes. She would have dressing up as a nurse, wouldn't she?
Yeah. She'd have loved it. She'd have loved masking up. She'd have loved the authoritarian thing. But what would worry me is if she happened to get a load of dodgy vaccines from Dick Powell.
Yeah.
Dick Powell.
Right, now, Ruth, as you know, we have this section, What Gets on My Shitting Tits? And I know you have got some great shit for this, so over to you.
Well,
shit.
I think a lot of my irritation in life comes from language. And what I feel really pissed off about of late, right, is how we've all started adopting these Americanisms. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. Okay, America's a great place and lovely, and we love to hear, all the nice little TV programs that the Americans give us. But I don't need to use the phrases that have really infiltrated our lives. Like, for example, the number of times you get an email and it says, "I just wanted to reach out to you." What do you mean? Are you stretching your arms out now in some sort of Pilates-based exercise, and you're reaching out to me? Circling back. If we could circle back.
Yeah, that's bollocks, isn't it?
Circle,
are we dancers now? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the one that really gets me, and I still ask people actually look a bit confused at me when I question this, right? Which makes me think I'm going a bit mad. When did we start saying, instead of when somebody has died or when somebody's passed away or, basically any of those usual phrases to describe somebody's death, when did we start saying, "Oh, they passed"? "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that she passed. Oh, I've got some bad news. He passed this morning." Passed what? What did he pass? Did he pass his driving test? Did he pass his piano exam? What did he pass?
Did he pass a stool?
Did he pass a stool? Did he pass you a note?
Did he pass go and collect £200?
Did he pass go and collect £200? Exactly. Yeah. Did he pass your house this morning on his way to work? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So I genuinely want somebody to tell me the answer to this, because it's not something I would ever use, but I've heard really close friends of mine using it. And I'm going, why? Why did you say that?
Have you picked them up on it?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if somebody says to you, "I had some bad news this morning, my grandmother passed," you can't go, "Excuse me, why are you saying that?"
Yeah, you can't go in with that, can you? You've got to go, "Oh, God,
exactly.
I'm so sorry." Yeah.
And you can't say, "What, do you mean she's died? What, do you mean she's dead?" You can't... Because that would just be really nasty. So you have to let it go.
Maybe you could just, when people say that to you, "Oh, she's passed," you could just drop the "away on." So you could just
start saying "away."
"Oh, Ruth, you know, my friend, she passed away."
Away. You can just go straight in. Yeah.
Just so that you are correcting their misuse of the language, but not actually being rude.
Without being rude or hurtful.
What if they go, "Oh no, she didn't pass away. She's not dead. She did actually pass my house this morning. Why do you think I'm talking about her dying? She's not dead, you arsehole." You'd be like, "Oh God, sorry. People start using the word past for people dying."
That is so true, though.
And then the other one is when people go, "Oh, with respect," where it means the opposite, doesn't it? That does not mean with respect. You couldn't be more disrespectful of the person to whom you're claiming to pay respect. It's a funny one, language. I think it is quite interesting, and but I just wish people would say what they mean. Do you know what I mean? But the other thing that really does get on my shitting tits is in soap operas, or often in TV dramas, but it tends to be in soap operas. They do it in the Archers. I'm a big Archers fan. Why did they think that brothers and sisters, that siblings, would refer to each other as sis or
yeah, or cuz? Cuz is the other one. When they talk about cousins in EastEnders, they're like, no, the thing is though, cuz, I've never once called one of my fucking cousins cuz ever in my life.
Cuz,
ever.
No. And have you ever referred to Ange as sis or to James as bruv? I mean, if I said to my brothers, or if I said to my sister, "Hey sis," she'd think I was an absolute idiot. Why are you talking to me like that? Yeah. Why are you talking to me like that? So I find that really, really weird. But it's just it seems to happen. Maybe it's to remind the audience what the familial relationship is in that particular scene. I don't know.
Well, look, we would love to hear from people who, if you've got any of your own language that gets on your shitting tits, then we would absolutely love to hear it. There's loads of ways that you can get in touch with Ange and I. You can find us both on social media. You can find us both on Instagram. I'm at Ruth Corden.
And I'm at Ange Corden. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search Finding the Funny Podcast. Or you can send us an email, hello@ruthcorden.com.
But you won't find me on social media.
No, you will not.
I'm not giving you my email
Ruth Jones.
No, you're not going to give out your email address or your phone number.
No. We'll just keep that private.
I loved when you were talking about things, words that other people use that you don't know what they mean. Are we able to talk about this?
Yes. Absolutely. Definitely.
Because I think there are a couple of Welsh words that get used, which, well, first of all, there's a phrase that my mother uses that I just find quite weird. It's an older Welsh generational thing to say, which is, well, I tell you, come on to me now this morning.
Hang on, break it down. I tell you what, come on to me now this morning.
No, I tell you who come on to me now this morning.
Wow.
I mean, I'm doing my mother a disservice, but it is a Welsh thing that I have heard people say. But it's somebody who came up to me in town. Oh, I tell you, come on to me in town this morning. But to me, it sounds like some sort of a sexual assault.
Yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that.
No,
it doesn't mean that in Wales.
Obviously, the other classic, which is in Gavin and Stacey, which I think is my favourite Nessa line, is the conversation between Smithy and Nessa, where Smithy says, "Right, I've got a girlfriend who should have. Well, where to she now? Where to she what? Right, either learn English or speak Welsh, because this where to like that. Just that bit where you see Smithy like, what the fuck are you talking about?" Anyway, look, we always do a little segment on this show, Ruth, which is about dickish behaviour. And I think you're going to find this dickish behaviour quite funny.
Okay.
Because I actually think this is something that Nessa would do quite a lot. So it's when people say no offence before going on to offend you or be a dick. I mean, that is annoying, isn't it?
Yeah. That is a bit like, that's a bit similar to with respect.
With respect,
yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, yeah,
why
it's doing the opposite. Yeah. No offense, but I think you're an idiot. No offense, but you're a dick. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you prefixed that insult with no offense, because that means I'm not offended in the slightest now.
Yeah.
And that is exactly annoying. Why people do it, though, isn't it? It's like a way of saying, look, I'm not being offending, but I am going to offend you.
But there is this like it's become culturally acceptable, isn't it? If you're going to go on to say to somebody, "Oh, I think you're a complete waste of space. I think you're fat. You're annoying. You're gobby." If you put at the front of that, no offence, it's like, oh, that's socially acceptable then, mate. Okay, thanks very much. Fine, you've said no offence, and you've just gone on to be basically offensive. A bully. But it's okay. It's okay. You said no offence.
But do you think? I don't think you can say anything to anybody anymore. So I think, in a way,
I agree.
The phrase "no offence" becomes redundant because you're best to not even say anything. You're best to not even acknowledge that you exist in the world. Really, that's probably the best. That's probably the safest way forward. Is I'm not even here, so I therefore will not offend you. I think the best policy is the one that I've adopted, which is to just not have anything to do with anybody. So just don't have any sort of social life. Don't mix with anybody. Don't talk to anybody, and then we'll all be fine.
Also known as a pandemic.
That's
also
very good.
As a pandemic.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I meant to ask you this before. You've probably explained this already, but it's something that intrigues me. It sort of relates to what I was saying about calling your siblings sis and bruv, right?
Yeah.
So why do you call Ruth Pats?
We don't know is the honest answer, Ruth. Nobody knows. We've had this question so many times. So I had about 1,000 billion names growing up as a child. I mean, obviously Rudy was
Rudy's the one I thought
features
number one nickname, and that is probably all James calls me is Rudy. I mean, very, very rarely, other than
Chipsticks.
Sometimes Chipsticks.
Yeah.
But I was Ange at one point when I was growing up was calling me Muller Reed's a diamond geezer. I mean, that will tell you. So something happened. Ange said, "Oh yeah, that's right, Patty," and then she was like, "Well," and now that's it. She doesn't ever. And we were really fortunate to have Ramesh Ranganathan on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he just slipped into calling me Patty straight away.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was calling me Pats at one point. He was like, the thing is, Pats.
Yeah. Me and my sister, we call each other, this is really weird, right? We call each other Gwed, right? Gwed, Gwed, right?
Gwed.
And it comes from the most bizarre story, which is that years ago, so I'm talking early 90s, both of our grandmothers were in a home. They were in a home together. I mean, back in those days, you could share a room. They actually shared a room. One day we went to visit them, and Grandma Jenkins looked a little bit odd in the face, and we couldn't work out what it was. Then we realised she put Nana Jones's dentures instead of her own dentures.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
So her teeth looked very different. But anyway, that was sort of by the by. In the home, so my sister and I used to go and visit our grandmothers, and sometimes we would take the guitar and we'd sing old wartime songs. And I remember there was a lady there called Muriel, right? And I remember once we were singing away.
Great name. Great.
You know, in that really patronising sort of like, oh, we're young and you're old, but we're going to sing to you a song that we don't really understand. And we were going, show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Well, go to bed then! Honestly, it shut us up. But we loved Muriel because she was in another world. She was in a world of her own, and she was obviously she was Welsh, and she could speak Welsh and English. And she used to sit right, and she would rub her knees, and she would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now dig. And then at the end, she'd go, Gwed! Gwed!
Gwed!
Which means, in Welsh, it means say, tell me. She just go, Gwed! Gwed! And for some reason, me and my sister started calling each other Gwed. And this was in 1992, 93, and we still do. And we have a rule now, when we send each other a message, it's usually Gwed, or it has to be a word beginning with G. So it might be Greg or granola or anything, you know. And it's just come from that.
That is hilarious.
I love that, Ruth.
Yeah, I love that too. Can I tell people how old you're turning, Ruth?
Yes, I think I've already said, haven't I?
You're turning 55. Is that this year?
Yeah, in September.
55.
Yeah.
You don't look 55.
No, you don't look
amazing.
it, mate. Honestly.
Oh,
you look bloody cracking.
As Eamon Holmes once said to me, you don't see any wrinkles on a balloon.
Okay, Eamon. Yeah.
No, but in all fairness to Eamon, we were sort of sharing that he was sharing it about himself. He wasn't sort of saying that specifically to me.
No.
I'm very fond of Eamon. Yeah, so I am 55 in September. Yes.
Turning 55. Well, I turn 40 next year, and it's an interesting balance, isn't it? Aging. It's a because I always think, when I think about growing old, I think it is something that is not afforded to everyone. So there is definitely something to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think what's weird with aging is that you have to remember that everybody's, if they're in good health, I guess, everybody's aging at the same rate, you know. So it's not like you're getting older any quicker than anybody else.
Anyone else.
But it just is always a shock, isn't it, when you hear of people maybe on TV that you thought of, like say somebody like David Jason. I mean, he's like 80 odd now, isn't he, or something? And And I think, you know, there are people that you still think of as eternally young, and then you find out what their age is. And I think for me, you know, I mean, gosh, when I was like growing up, the thought of, I remember my godmother's daughter was 16. Oh my God, that's just like so old and grown up and mature. Do you know what I mean? And then I used to think, oh, I'll get married and I'll have had 4 children by the time I'm 24. I used to think 24, which so I think my mum had kids early, and I think probably I thought that's what would happen. And age is it is literally just literally just a number. Literally just a number. But I think when I turned 30, I really cried. I couldn't believe that I was 30, because to me, 20s was kind of the end of youth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I look back and I think, 30, you're a baby. You're a baby. You know? Yes. And I used to find my 30s was for me the most difficult decade, because I just couldn't bear the thought of approaching 40, right? Now, I don't want to I'm not trying to depress you here, but I'm just, I used to see 40 coming over the horizon. I was thinking, oh my God, it cannot possibly be 40. I now look at 40 and go, 40 is nothing. 40 is absolutely nothing. Right? And I remember in my late 30s, I started buying designer sunglasses, and I was really wanted to be young, and I thought that was my way into staying young, was to buy designer sunglasses. And then 40 came, and I'm not joking. Oh, my 40s were absolutely brilliant. Now you could say, right, there are other factors going on. That's when kind of Gavin and Stacey took off. I stopped drinking when I was 40, and I didn't drink for like 9 years. And I think that, and I think that sort of like made me get a lot more done. And then, and so then I thought, when I reached 50, oh, that's going to be awful. I had a party for my 40th actually, but I also had one for my 50th, and I just had like people that had known me since I was a baby. There were a couple of actor friends there, but it wasn't like a sort of a big bash, a celebrity bash or anything like that. And it was just lovely to have people there, like my godmother, who'd know when I was born, and she's like in her mid-80s now, you know. And my dad, God bless him, my dad was still alive then, and just I remember looking around the room, right, at these. I think there were about 80 people there, and I just thought, oh my God, all these people in this room really mean something to me. And aren't I blessed to be here and to be 50? It's like you said, it is not a privilege that's afforded everybody at all to get older. You know, I lost a very dear friend in about 4 years ago, and she was too young to die. And you just think, so it sounds a bit twee to say, oh, you've got to kind of make the most of it. But you do have to make the most of it. And actually, I think now, okay, I can't believe 5 years has gone by since my 50th, because it did feel like last week. However, today is the youngest I'm ever going to be, right? And today is the youngest any of us are ever going to be. So, you know, my mum, God bless her, she's like 84, and she's still moving around and walking down to town. And I said to her the other day, I said, Mum, if I can be as fit as you are at your age, I'll be very, very happy. And she said, well, I'm going to hang around a bit longer. I'm going to wait until I'm 90 at least. You know, she's, and I think it's all relative, isn't it? And I think we get our joy and our energy from the people that we're surrounded by. And I think there's so much to be grateful for in life, that quite frankly, going through the menopause, which is what I'm going through now, with these effing fucking hot flushes.
Yeah.
Which are, I honestly, I mean, in fact, just mentioning it now has brought one on, and I'm having to take off. I mean,
she is.
My poor husband, where I have to go, I go to him, is it gone really hot in here? And honestly, I'm still asking him that, even though I know I'm having a hot flush. I'll still go, oh my God, has the heating gone up? Oh, can we turn the heating down? Or in the car, you know, I go, oh God, I've got to open the window. It's really hot in here. As if I'm going to die. No, you're not going to die, Ruth. You're just having a hot flush. But, you know, and things like your eyebrow hairs. You get the odd eyebrow hair that's gone really thick. And you go, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
Or why are my eyelashes getting thinner? You know, all those things, they're all livable with. They're a pain in the arse, but they're all livable with, you know?
Yeah. That is
I also think there is such a sort of especially on women, I think all across the world, there's such a confusing narrative about aging, isn't it? It's like you must age gracefully. She's had too much work done versus, oh God, she looks awful. She's she's too wrinkly. And I think that is such a hard kind of line to walk, when I just think, like you say, today's the youngest we're ever going to be. You just got to embrace it. You know, whatever I look like at 70 or 80, if, you know, God willing, I get there, that you've just got to embrace that and say, well, this is whether that's that you want to have lots of work done and look younger, embrace that. Whether that's that you don't and you want to age in a different way. I just sort of think it's just everybody's choice, isn't it? You
exactly.
You do you, and essentially.
It's like, I just read a really good book recently by Claire Kalman called Second Hand Husband. And there was a brilliant passage in there that I've actually copied it down. And it sort of relates to our own self-obsession and, what will people think? And she's actually talking about biscuits, right? And she's talking about this passage where this woman offers another woman a biscuit and she goes, well, I shouldn't really, it's a bit naughty of me. Maybe I'll have one. And then she comments and she says, seriously, who gives a fuck whether you have a biscuit or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Either have the biscuit and shut up, or just don't mention the biscuit. You know, and I think you can apply that to everything in life.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just like we notice things about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But so what? Nobody else does, because everybody else has got their own worries. You know,
exactly.
So,
exactly.
I also think as well, there's something. I think I've definitely felt this in growing older has actually given me more confidence.
Yeah.
Like I am a far more confident 46-year-old woman than I was 26-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing for me, is that we focus so much on the physical aspect of growing older and aging. You know, what you look like, have you got grey hairs, is your skin looking like a bag of shit? When actually I think for me, and I think probably for a lot of women, I have grown more comfortable in my skin and who I am in getting older. And I love that about myself. I appreciate that is the growth I have had in these years. And I kind of just think, do you know what? At 46, I'm doing this. At 45, we started this podcast. 46, when you count to it, who knows what my 47th, 48th, 50th year is going to hold for me. But my God, am I just going to embrace absolutely everything? And I just think if you can look at aging and getting older as an internal thing rather than an external, that is like such a key part of growing older, I think.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen, sister?
You can get an amen.
Amen, sister.
No, I think you should say amen, sis.
Amen, sis. Can I get an amen, sis?
Amen, sis. Well, look, Ruth, we are so grateful. This has been such an amazing, amazing episode. I have just cherished the last hour that we've spent with you.
I'm really so
grateful. We're just so grateful that you came on, and we know this is going to be so funny.
Yeah.
Ange and I aren't around next week. We're having a break. Can you believe that, everyone? Ange and I are actually fully taking a break.
I'm doing fuck all next Monday.
Yes. absolute same.
I tell you what,
on Monday I'm doing fuck
I
all.
tell you what you can do next week on your day off. You can read my book S3, which is now out in paperback. So it's really cheap.
Yes. And when's your new book out? When you've obviously written
Oh my lord!
Ruth.
When I've written,
when is that actually out?
That should be out in a year in September. So
Okay.
But I think I have to finish it quite soon because it has to go through such a process. But can I just ask before we go? Obviously, Ruth. We were talking before we recorded about your great appearance in Gavin and Stacey.
Well, this is something. I'm pleased you brought this up, Ruth, because I was disappointed that Drive Through Worker number 6 didn't get the call back, and also I'm disappointed that I don't know whether there's going to be another series. You know, I've based my whole career on Drive Through Worker number 6 in all walks of my life.
Well, I can just give you a little bit of insight. One of the things me and James have discussed is we want to maybe write an offshoot to Gavin and Stacey.
Amazing.
And we'd like it to be called Drive Through Worker number 6 and 7.
Amazing.
I hope you know where I'm going with this, Ange.
Oh, I'm really hoping
you are number 7.
Great. This is what I wanted.
I think I should just give you a little scene though, just to try out. So I'll just be Nessa coming to the drive-through, and I'd like it to be Drive-Through Worker number 6 and 7. Okay,
perfect.
So I'll just cue you up with a line, and then just roll with it.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, love, you got any chili fries?
Hang on 1 second, I'll just check. Number 7, have you got the chili fries on?
Unfortunately, we've just sold the last portion of the chili fries, so we're now out of chili fries. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Nessa, we're out of chili fries. Have you got the beef fries? Have you got the beef fries?
Beef. We got shitloads of beefs.
We can do beef fries. We can do beef fries, Nessa.
Are you good with the beefs?
Give me a beef and back off.
I reckon we're a goer. That's a goer.
Definitely.
In fact, let's not involve James in the writing. Let's us three just watch it.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
Finding the funny. Finding the funny.
And there we are, the end of another episode. What a fantastic episode. We're so grateful to Ruth Jones for coming on and chatting with us. There's no podcast next week. Can you believe it? Ange and I are taking a full week off, but continue to stay in touch with us because we do love hearing from you. There's loads of places you can find us while we're away. I'm on Instagram at Ruth Corden and Ange is at Ange Corden. You can find us on Facebook, just search Finding the Funny Podcast, or you can send us an email, hello@ruthcorden.com. We won't be here next week, but in 2 weeks' time we have the fantastic Caroline Hirons joining us. I can't wait for that one, and we'll be here with her helping you to find more of the funny.
Finding the funny.